Hey, you guys. I hope this is working. My internet's been so slow today. Hey, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Oh, Monday. I can't believe it. And I can't believe that it's November. So, we are going to go over the Lincoln Highway. And I can't wait to hear what you guys thought about this book because it's definitely the biggest book that we've read, like the longest book, and very different from what I typically personally gravitate towards, and then also what I've picked in the past for a book club. This is like pretty outside of that like typical range. So can't wait to discuss. Definitely leave your thoughts, opinions, reactions, everything in the chat. I would love to hear what you have to say. And don't have any technical difficulties. But yeah, okay. So I'll give everyone another minute or two. But as you're joining, let me know what you thought of the Lincoln Highway, if you enjoyed it, if it was too long, if it was too, just let me know all your thoughts. And of course, I have notes up the wazoo, and I am going to reveal our November book club pick. So I can't wait to tell you guys all about that at the end of the stream. And I just have to say, I really, really enjoyed this book. I put so many like page markers, which this is the first month that I've had these. I know in past months, like book club books, I would just put like little scraps of paper, but now I actually have like official page markers. And that was really eye-opening to me with how much I like marked and was like, oh my gosh, this is either a really good line, like a just very either funny, because there's actually some funny lines in here, which I really loved the different characters' voices, and you could just perfectly see these characters. At least I could, and that was probably my favorite part of this book. Like the story I enjoyed, but I loved the characters and I loved how clearly they were like seen through, and like when the perspective of the chapter changed to Wooly from Duchess, like you could easily tell like their personality shining through, and I just love that. So I marked like a bunch of funny things, pivotal like turning points, and just like insightful things. Like there was a quote, or just like a musing of Wooly in one of the like later chapters about how pictures like capture a point in time, and the people in the pictures like don't know anything about the future. They just know what happened up to this exact moment, but when you look at a picture, all you can think about is what happened after and what happened to them, or like things like that. And I was just like, that is so true and so poetic. And I really enjoyed some of the little like philosophical tidbits in here. So I highly enjoyed this book. For me, it kept my attention the entire like 600 pages, which I was definitely worried about because that's a long book. Like anything over, I would say, 400 some pages is like a long book for me. And this I was like hooked from beginning to end. It took me quite a while to read this book. Like I would say it took me about 2 weeks to read it, which is not common for me, but I enjoyed it. So I hope you guys did it too. And hopefully it wasn't too long for you guys. I think our next book will be shorter. So hopefully that is something to look forward to. So I would love to know who your favorite character was. Oh my gosh, and it looks like my screen is like freezing. I really hope this isn't going bad. I just feel like my internet is just really not working today. So thanks for bearing with me. So let me actually check the stream because I'm a little worried about it. Okay. Oh, and there's like an ad, of course. Sorry, you guys. So anyway, I would love to know who your favorite character was. And there were a lot of characters in this movie, or I felt like it was a movie. But it was a lot of characters in this book, and I was surprised every time a new character was introduced. Like I didn't see it coming, and like just from a different perspective. Like I think the first time that that happened, it was with like Sally or something, and I wasn't actually like aware that she was going to be a big character in this book. But Sally ended up being my favorite character along with Billy. Those two were definitely my favorite characters. And Billy's like just innocence and just his personality were so incredible. And I loved how pivotal his character became at the end of the book, which we'll, of course, get into. But, Sally was such a breath of fresh air for me in this book, and probably most of us that are in my book club are women, and, I never really read books that are, like, all male characters. So I was very glad that Sally had more of a like, more appearances than maybe she might have. So I was glad that she was a bigger character than I originally was expecting. And I loved how, like, since you could hear her thoughts and everything, we really got to know that even though she's from a small town and she has like this traditional, like, female role in the household with her dad, like, she is such a, like, strong, independent woman, and the one part that I, like, marked, when I was reading was when her dad was like, "I trusted your mother when she said to, like, let you have your own free thoughts and be like an independent woman, but now I'm like thinking that did you a disservice because you have like such like you talk back and like you have your own thoughts and opinions." And I was just like, oh, because obviously we all, I hope, have like strong beliefs. And it was just really cool to see, like, in this setting in the 50s, um her being that type of woman before it was really her character arc ended up as well, with her final like monologue to Emmett. I just thought that that was the perfect ending point for her character. So um, the other main characters, other than Sally, of course, we have Emmett, and I had a very love-hate relationship with Emmett, and I appreciate his character, but I feel like I liked his character more when to like someone else's perspective, because then I was like, oh yeah, Emmett's kind of like very plays by the rules, kind of boring, I would say, and just very like he has his vision, nothing's gonna stop him, and like that's a very, I think, traditional mindset, especially being in the situation that he was in. But for me, Emmett was not nearly the most interesting character, though I did enjoy the part where he just like stood up against or just like took the beating from that one like brother or whatever of the guy that he unintentionally killed. And that was so sad to hear that that's why he ended up in Selena. And all of their stories were so sad, um, of basically like not really meaning to do anything harmful. None of them did. And Duchess, if we can take his word for it, was set up by his father. So that was really, really sad to hear that backstory. But I was glad that throughout the book we did get those tidbits, because I was curious how on earth did these kids end up there in this like work farm, and yeah, so Emmett, not my favorite character, but, like, he definitely played an important role, obviously, because it was his story. Wooly, wow, Wooly is so sweet. That's just what I wrote, "Sweet, sweet Wooly," with a sad face, because obviously we know how it ends for his character, and I wrote, I loved his character and just wanted to hug and protect him. Like, he was someone so innocent and just so, like, pure of heart, and um I just felt horrible that all that he went through, and then how it ultimately ended for him, and I was truly shocked. I did not see the ending of his character arc coming. Like, I could tell it definitely seemed like he was depressed, and then after his his brother-in-law gave him like that talking to, I knew it would be like really hard for him, but I didn't expect his character to actually take his own life. So that was really, really sad. And like, I feel like I still can't get over that. Like, I don't feel like it was fully, like, addressed in the book, so that would be something I would, I guess, critique about the book, is that it wasn't, that didn't feel, like, fully, I don't know, addressed, for lack of a better word. Okay, you guys, I think my connection is struggling, so I'm going to stick with it, but I hope it's coming through on your end. So the last main character I want to talk is, of course, Duchess, and I didn't realize until probably farther through the book than you, but that the only first person chapters were from Duchess's perspective, which I thought was really an interesting choice. And if you actually go to this author, Amor Towles, his website, he did a Q&A like of his own on this book, and talked about how he originally concepted it, and that he found this time period very fascinating because it was leading up to so many pivotal things in America. And so this is just kind of like, in his view, like precursors, or just like these were experiences that people might have had leading up to these like really changing times. So one thing that he said was that he originally was going to only have the perspectives of Emmett in third person and Duchess in first person. So it was always going to be like, Duchess is your but of course we know that Duchess is a con artist, for lack of a better word, but I just think that's so cool that we got Duchess's first person perspective, because in the end, obviously, he really, like, has a turning point, I would say, for the worse. Um, and, like, I just find it interesting when we get first person understanding of like bad characters, or we start to understand why people do bad things, and that like in their minds, if we are to believe what they think, um they just truly believe that that is the right thing to do, even if it's a horrible thing, or like how he hit that Ackerley guard like over the head and put him like in a coma, basically. So he was just thinking, oh, I want to get even with him, and this is the way I want to do it, which is such a Duchess thing to do, but it was really, really cool to understand how he thinks. And yeah, so I definitely had a love-hate relationship with Duchess, and from my point of view, he was easily the most interesting character, and that last chapter, I had to like reread it because I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I can't even believe what is happening right now and how it ends. Okay, I am not super versed in Shakespeare, I have to say. Like, I knew who the one knew it was from Shakespeare, but I did have to look up what like Iago's traits are because like at the very end, Duchess's monologue or thoughts to himself before he dies is what he says, like Hamlet said, but then he's like, or is it Iago? I can never remember. So I looked up Iago's like character traits. And so this was just like a short synopsis from the internet. And it said, Iago has the ability to charm and convince people of his loyalty and honesty. Honest Iago, according to Othello. But the audience is immediately introduced to his vitriol and desire for revenge. Iago represents evil and cruelty for its own sake. So for me, I would find it very a stretch of the imagination to describe Duchess as representing evil and cruelty for its own sake. Like, to me, he is not just evil and cruel to everyone and anyone. Like, he feels like he has his reasons, basically. So, book of the month sends these like little cards that I look at sometimes, and a lot of times I just don't really mention them, but this one was kind of interesting. It says, do you agree or disagree? Duchess ultimately was a good person, albeit a bit of a rascal. So I would say he's more along the rascal line than pure evil for sure, but it's hard to really say. Like, I would like to believe Duchess is more of a good person and a bit of a rascal. But I just thought that last line was so interesting by the author because it really does put the reader like on the spot to be like, what do you think? Like comparing him to a character from Shakespeare that is like, I guess, conniving and just very manipulative, which I would say Duchess is very charming and manipulative, which is why I consider him more of a con artist than like evil. But I just thought that was interesting and it made me realize I need to brush up on my Shakespeare for sure. So, okay, we went over like all the characters that I wanted to touch on, and there's just so much that happened in this book that I still can't even believe it. So, I would say all of this kind of starts going out of hand when Duchess steals Emmett's car and like essentially kidnaps Wooly and leaves Emmett and Billy behind, and then all hell breaks loose from there. Not that it wasn't already breaking loose when they got out of the trunk from the warden's car. That was hilarious. So that was like obviously a turning point, but I would say things didn't get like super insane to me until Emmett and Billy went on that like, box car or like they hitched a ride on the train. And so one of the things that I wrote down that I thought was so just like I was so stressed reading it was when Billy had the altercation on the train with Pastor John, who I would not even consider a pastor. He was, I would say Pastor John was more